Between Canada and the U.S. as many Canadian snowbirds reconsidering their travel plans. So if you are someone who heads south of the border, what does the future look like? And if you're now considering non-U.S. options, where do you start? Here to answer those questions and more, travel journalist Loren Christie is with us in studio. Good to have you here.
Morning.
So you were just in Arizona.
Yeah.
That is a hot spot for Canadians, as we know. Snowbirds like to head there. So when all of this tariff talk started, I mean, you were there. What were you hearing from people?
Well, it's very interesting. So I was in Scottsdale specifically, and, you know, I'm there for a few days vacation, and it's golf courses and pickleball and arts and culture and food and cuisine and all that stuff that you would expect on a nice, warm vacation. But when you started to talk to the community, that's when you started to feel the anxiety. And so from the community, I mean, there's the Americans on the one side. So whether it was the Uber driver, the restaurant server, the museum guide, every single one of them, when they learned I was Canadian, said to me, thank you so much for coming. We're so sorry about this. We do not want this, because they understand, like, number one, international visitors to Scottsdale are Canadians, and they get that. And then on the flip side, well, not the flip side, but also I was talking to, you know, Canadians there. I had dinner with snowbird friends who are down there. They've been going for 8 years, and they were feeling anxiety from all the social media pressure to not go to the States. But again, they're there with their community. And their point was, you know, we spend our money down here, sure, but we got down here on a Canadian airline. We're renting our house for 4 months from a Canadian couple in Calgary.
Interesting.
Canadian insurance. So it's not as clear cut on those lines where the money goes or stays. So it's tough.
It really is tough. It's a tough time right now. I want to break down some numbers if we could, because the U.S. Travel Association has released some pretty staggering numbers. Here they are. The association says there could be a 10% reduction in Canadian travel to the U.S. as a result of all of this tension that's happening. That could mean, you see it on your screen, a loss of potentially $2.1 billion in spending and about 14,000 jobs lost. So what do you think the economic impact is going to look like?
It is going to look massive. I mean, that's just an estimation. As you said, we're the #1 international market, not just for Scottsdale or Arizona, but for all of the U.S. There's 20.4 million Canadians went in 2024. That's $20.5 billion. So if this continues, I mean, there's snowbirds, but there's also regular vacationers and business travelers. Like, it could have a wide-ranging effect depending on how serious this becomes.
Yeah, and the word boycott is being thrown around a lot from people saying they don't want to travel to the U.S. They're going to do this travel boycott. What do you think of that move?
I really grapple with this. This Trump and his supporters, their talk and their tariffs, it feels like a personal attack on all of us. And so I think people are hurt and they want to push back. The issue I have with, or the other side that I see, is that travel is not a product. Travel, one of the best things about travel is the relationships you make, the friendships, and the connections you make with people, and understanding when you go to other countries. So when you're talking to people who are in these communities, what's going to happen is they're going to become isolated and create divisions, which is the opposite of what travel does, and it's exactly what Trump wants to happen. So I have a problem with that. It hurts me a little bit. And as a member of the 2S LGBTQI+ community, you know, as a gay man, we've dealt with this for years. There's a lot of places where it's illegal to be meat. And so I have conversations with people about whether we should be going or not going. And, you know, some people they do boycott, and other people feel like if I'm not there to have the conversation and create the relationship, change won't happen.
Oh, that's interesting, yeah.
And so there are two sides, and I guess my main message or my main feeling is that both sides are right. So don't shame each other for making different decisions.
Right, personal choices. Let's talk about alternate destinations. And for those that are saying, you know what? Maybe for right now, at least, I want to go somewhere else other than the U.S. I want to go south, but somewhere else. Where would you recommend?
You know, Mexico is a great spot. It's the #2 choice for Canadian snowbirds right now. It can be a little unsafe in certain areas, but other places are great. My mother-in-law spends 3.5 months down there every year and loves it. Costa Rica is really popular.
I'm going.
It's popular. Hey, it's called the Switzerland of the Americas, and particularly the Northwest Coast. Canadians have been going there for years. It's affordable. It's got a lot of things that you want in terms of, you know, safety and accessibility and all that stuff that are important for snowbirds. Panama's growing. The only issue with Panama, it's a great spot, I've been before. The only issue with Panama, their supply hasn't quite caught up with the demand, so they're a little short on accommodations for long-term rentals. Cuba has traditionally been also an interesting spot, but they're struggling a little bit with shortages in terms of even food to electrical, so do your research on that one. And then the other one I think is very interesting is Portugal. You know, in Europe, you know, it's one of the more affordable destinations. It's mild down on the Algarve coast, and people really like it, and they have lots of accommodation options there.
I love these options. Loren Christie, always great to see you. Thanks so much. Happy travels.
If you liked that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.